A hand grenade can clear a room. A bunker buster can erase a city block. But the bomb at number 1 on this list? It created a fireball 5 miles wide, a mushroom cloud that punched through the stratosphere, and a shockwave that circled the entire planet 3 times. It was so powerful that the scientists who built it weren't sure if it would ignite the atmosphere and end all life on Earth. They detonated it anyway. This is the story of 5 weapons, ranked by pure destructive power. From the explosive you can throw with your hand to a bomb so massive it could only be tested once because using it would mean the end of civilization itself. By the time we reach number 5, you'll understand why even the people who created it were terrified of what they'd built. Number 1. The M67 fragmentation grenade. Let's start with something you've seen in every war movie. The M67 fragmentation grenade fits in your palm, weighs about a pound, and has been standard issue for US infantry since 1968. Pull the pin, release the lever, and you have 4 seconds before it explodes. Inside is 6.5 ounces of Composition B explosive, wrapped in a steel shell designed to shatter into hundreds of razor-sharp fragments, traveling faster than the speed of sound. The kill radius is 5 meters, about the width of a 2-car garage. Anyone inside that zone doesn't survive. The injury radius extends to 15 meters, roughly half a basketball court. Inside a building, the shrapnel ricochets off walls, turning a single grenade into a death machine that clears entire rooms. The M67 has been used in every American conflict since Vietnam, Iraq, Afghanistan, Somalia, dozens of smaller operations you've never heard of. It's killed and wounded tens of thousands. And it's just the beginning. Number 4. The BLU-82 Daisy Cutter. Now we scale up. Way up. The BLU-82 weighs 15,000 pounds. That's 7.5 tons of explosive power, so massive it can't be dropped from a normal bomber. It has to be shoved out the back of a cargo plane with a parachute to slow its fall. When it detonates just above the ground, it doesn't create a crater. It creates a shockwave. Developed during Vietnam to instantly clear jungle landing zones for helicopters, the BLU-82 contains over 12,000 pounds of GSX slurry explosive. The blast radius is 300 feet in every direction, the size of a professional soccer field. Everything in that zone is obliterated. Trees snap at the trunk, buildings collapse into rubble. Human beings caught in the open are killed by the overpressure alone, which ruptures lungs and internal organs without leaving a visible wound. In 2001, the US dropped these on Taliban cave complexes in Afghanistan. The explosions were so massive that seismic sensors detected them and observers thought they were nuclear detonations. Survivors described entire mountainsides being reshaped. The psychological impact was so severe that enemy combatants abandoned positions without ever seeing American troops. This is what 15,000 pounds of conventional explosive looks like. But we're just getting started. Number 3. The GBU-43 MOAB. The MOAB, the Massive Ordnance Air Blast Bomb, the mother of all bombs, the largest non-nuclear weapon ever used in combat. 21,600 pounds, 18,700 pounds of H6 explosive. When this detonates, the blast radius extends 1,000 feet in every direction, a circle the size of 3 football fields placed end to end. Reinforced concrete crumbles, steel beams buckle, underground tunnels collapse from the sustained pressure wave that follows the initial blast. The MOAB was designed in the early 2000s to destroy deep bunker complexes and send a message. And in April 2017, that message was delivered. US forces dropped a MOAB on an ISIS tunnel network in eastern Afghanistan. 94 militants were killed instantly. The underground complex was completely destroyed. The mushroom cloud was visible for miles, and the ground shook like an earthquake. Afghan officials described the aftermath as total annihilation, bodies vaporized, tunnels erased, and every militant group in the region got the message loud and clear. There is nowhere to hide. But here's the thing. The MOAB, for all its power, is still conventional. It's still just chemical explosives creating pressure and heat. What comes next isn't. Number 2. Little Boy. Hiroshima. August 6, 1945, 8:15 a.m. A single B-29 bomber called the Enola Gay releases a bomb over the Japanese city of Hiroshima. The bomb is 10 feet long, weighs 9,000 pounds, and is named Little Boy. 43 seconds later, it detonates at an altitude of 1,900 feet. The fireball reaches 1 million degrees Celsius. Everything within half a mile is vaporized instantly. The blast wave flattens every building across a 2-mile radius, an area the size of central Manhattan from Wall Street to Greenwich Village. Thermal radiation burns people up to a mile away, leaving shadows permanently etched into concrete where victims stood when the flash came. Little Boy was a uranium fission bomb with a yield of 15 kilotons, the equivalent of 15,000 tons of TNT. Inside, a conventional explosive fired one mass of uranium-235 into another, creating a supercritical chain reaction that split atoms and released energy on a scale humanity had never seen before. 70,000 people died in the first seconds. By the end of 1945, the death toll reached 140,000 as radiation sickness, burns, and injuries killed survivors. The radiation didn't just kill immediately, it caused leukemia, cancers, and genetic damage that affected children born decades later. Entire families were erased. The city burned for days. 3 days later, a second bomb fell on Nagasaki. Japan surrendered. The nuclear age had begun, and warfare would never be the same. But even this wasn't the limit. Number 1. Tsar Bomba. October 30th, 1961. A Soviet Tu-95 bomber takes off from an airbase in the Arctic Circle, carrying the largest nuclear weapon ever built. The bomb is so massive, 27 metric tons, that the plane's bomb bay doors had to be removed just to fit it. The crew knows they have a 50-50 chance of surviving the explosion, even with the bomb on a parachute delay. They drop it anyway. Tsar Bomba, the king of bombs, 50 megatons, 50 million tons of TNT, 3,300 times more powerful than the bomb that destroyed Hiroshima. When it detonates at 13,000 feet above a remote Arctic island, the fireball is 5 miles wide. 5 miles. If you placed it over Manhattan, it would stretch from the Hudson River to the East River and from the southern tip to Central Park. The heat flash causes third-degree burns to anyone within 60 miles, farther than the distance from Washington, D.C. to Baltimore. The mushroom cloud rises to a height of 40 miles, punching through the stratosphere and into the mesosphere. The shockwave circles the entire planet 3 times and is detected by seismographs on every continent as a magnitude 5.0 earthquake. Windows shatter in Norway and Finland, hundreds of miles away. The island where it detonated is completely sterilized. Nothing remains alive. The Soviets designed it to reach 100 megatons but scaled it back out of fear that it would be uncontrollable. Even at half power, scientists weren't entirely sure it wouldn't ignite the atmosphere. They tested it anyway, and the footage they captured remains one of the most terrifying pieces of film ever recorded. Here's the most disturbing part. Tsar Bomba was never meant to be used in war. It was too big, too heavy, and too destructive. It was a message, a demonstration that the Soviet Union could build a weapon capable of ending civilization itself. And after the test, both superpowers understood something fundamental. They had reached the limit. Building bigger bombs was pointless because this one could already destroy everything. Tsar Bomba was tested once and never built again. Not because it failed, but because it succeeded too well. The reality. 5 weapons, 5 scales of destruction, from a grenade that kills in meters to a bomb that shook the entire planet. Tsar Bomba was the turning point. After 1961, the nuclear arms race stopped being about building bigger bombs and started being about building more of them. Because once you can destroy a city with a single weapon, making it 10 times larger doesn't matter. What matters is how many cities you can destroy simultaneously. The most powerful bomb ever built ended the race to build more powerful bombs, not through failure, but through sheer terror at what had been created. The progression from hand-thrown explosives to planet-shaking thermonuclear weapons took less than 50 years. And every weapon on this list is still in use today, except for the one that was too powerful to ever use again. If you made it this far, hit subscribe. There's more where this came from.